crowd. Okay. All right. So now that we're recording, I do want to grab my, where is my, who's got their Og Mandino book in front of them today? Anyone? Anyone? Bueller? Anyone got their Og Mandino book? You'd have to speak because I can't see all your faces if you're saying yes. So
I do.
who's that? Who said that?
Me, Rochelle. I'm trying to get my video working. Hold on.
Oh, that's okay. I just wanted to, I think I know where mine is, but I have to go get it. So, okay. All right. Well, let's get started. So what week are we on? 3? Yes. Week 3, right? Gosh, you guys are so damn talkative. Quiet the freak down, would you?
Yes, we're on week 3.
Thank you, Kevin Scott. Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about, before we start talking about week 3, I see, hold on one second, let's see, Colin Bennett is about to, Rochelle, that is such a great background. Rochelle, I got to thank you for, you're on mute. Yeah, there you go.
Now everyone knows where I'm from. So something
Yes,
different.
that's very good. I really want to thank you for speaking up last week. I think it was the impetus for a really great conversation. In the meantime, I don't know if you guys can see that really handsome guy named Colin Bennett right there. Colin is in Oklahoma, and he kind of works with that lady, works around the lady Cheryl Lister that talked a lot last week. And Colin, I've been hearing from people that work around you that you have been implementing a lot of this stuff and doing some door knocking and doing some other things that you've typically been uncomfortable doing. So I want to, if you don't mind me calling on you, if you don't want to talk, just say, Rick, I'm not talking, but you don't always strike me as
let's
Mr.
do it. Let's do it.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about what you've been doing differently and what results you've been getting. And a little bit, we don't need, Ramp doesn't have an ego, but Ramp does like to hear that what you've been learning going through Ramp is helping you to do things you haven't done before. So speak up about that.
For sure. So kind of my experience with it is, it's really made me realize, honestly, like how much time I've kind of wasted, because for me, like, I don't want to come in here and not have my points. And so literally I'll get all my points I put for my goal literally in like 2 days, but I'll go out and I'll send out a bunch of letters and I'll go door knock and I'll go make phone calls and I'll do all these activities in such a short amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
So my goal moving forward, and I was actually going to bring this up to everyone, is I want to get an early jump start on my points for this week. I've definitely set more appointments these last couple weeks than I have before Ramp. So that's really good. Not a lot of that's converted over, but I've been getting in front of people, meeting people, and ultimately, like, I've been in the business for 3 years. So I know those are the things that really matter, is getting in front of people.
Simply put, you're having more conversations with more people.
Yeah.
And the outcome is positive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what's weird is, I don't know, I've always been like this. I will make 100 phone calls and get nothing out of it. And then out of nowhere, I'll get a phone call that has nothing to do with anything I just did. But I only really get those phone calls whenever I'm in the real estate market, being kind of who we just need to be on a day-to-day basis.
That's awesome. And then you also surround yourself with energetic, active people, right? Since we know that everybody that comes on these calls are with EXP and there's not always offices and not always camaraderie, how can we as a group create that, whether we have it immediately around us? You've got the likes of a Cheryl Lister, a Vanessa Johnson, Reagan Klaus, like you, wait a minute, I just realized you have nothing but beautiful women around you, you poor thing.
Yeah.
So look at that grin, look at that grin. And he's the youngest probably of all of them, but I think is Reagan younger than you, isn't she?
We're actually the same age.
Oh, all right, cool. So for some of us, like if I look at, I have a really good friend on here named Kristen McClendon, who she's a loner, she works from home. She's got another job. She's supporting a family. She's a single mom, like all these different things going on. How do we work? This is a question for the crowd, not just for Colin, but how do we create the camaraderie that Colin might get from having other people around him, pushing him to be the best version of himself? But if you don't have that in your life every day, how do we create it? And believe me, this is an issue when you're at a company where you have an office and you go in, still the majority of the people in there, when they get to work in real estate, feel completely alone because everybody is working for their own success. They're not paying attention to you and your success. So it's a very important point to bring up here. Kyle, I love that you're nodding. Kevin, this means that we're hitting a nerve. How do we do this? Right? I'm spend the majority of my time sitting right here with a white wall. This isn't some fancy background, it's just a wall. But Casey will come by and say, get up, walk around, listen to some music for a second, get your butt off that chair, change your environment, lift your spirits, read a scripture, listen to a nice piece of music, do something. So Colin, talk a little bit about that from your experience, and everybody else, I'd love to hear what you're doing about this stuff.
So what I personally do is I'm trying to do like more high-end open houses. So kind of my price point a little bit and kind of get a first kind of jump on everything comes on the market. And with at least Oklahoma, we can only do open houses that are EXPs houses. So every time we get a listing, I call the other agent and I just be like, hey, congratulations on your new listing. Just curious if you have anyone doing an open house on it this weekend, just because I want to have first jumps at it. And then also like I've created so many relationships with EXP agents by just reaching out. And a lot of the time they're going to say no, like we have multiple offers type of thing. But for me, that's how I've connected with a lot of EXP agents, is just whenever they get a new listing, I'll call them up and be like, congratulations.
Yeah. And good for you. So one of the things I want to say is, and don't you tell anybody because I will kill all of you for telling anyone. All right. But it's the same pretty much everywhere, that EXP and a lot of other brokerages don't want their people having an outside person from another brokerage do their open houses. I'd rather get forgiveness than permission. All right. So when I was struggling, which a lot of you know those stories about my struggle, I didn't care. Like call a Coldwell Banker agent and take a listing in my neighborhood. I'd be like, dude, I know the neighborhood super well. I'll hold it open for you. And back then nobody cared. Like then nobody went talk to their broker. Is that okay? Like nobody did that. They go for it. And I put up my signs towards that open house. And people would say, well, the open house signs look different than the for sale sign. Who do you think said that? Only real estate agents. The consumer doesn't pay attention to that stuff. They have no freaking idea that the open house sign looks one way. And in today's days, people aren't even looking for the signs. They know there's an open house because they saw it online. They set it in their nav system and they go. They're not look like, who cares about the open house signs? But I can tell you that that is a very effective method, is calling people from the same company, no matter if you know them or not, and saying, congratulations, I love what that looks like. Are you all set? And I get I get calls from outside companies. I get calls from people in EXP to hold my open houses. And the majority of the time I want my team to do it, but it doesn't always work out. Teammates have plans, so very good that you're doing that, Colin.
I was actually just going to start, there's 2 new listings that came on, and I was going to, for EXP, and I was going to call them up and see if I could ask them if I could do a property boost within KV Core on their listing.
Yes. That's another great thing, Kevin, is saying, can I advertise? I never say no to that because I'm the listing agent. I'm getting the listing commission. I don't care who else advertises.
I did have one guy say no, he didn't want me to do it because it interfered with his brand marketing.
Yeah.
But
yeah. Well, for the most part, you're not changing his brand marketing. You're doing your own, and very few people are going to go, look what Kevin, that's the same address over here. Who does that? Right.
Exactly.
So
Right?
yeah. Good for you. Who else?
Also, I also want to say what I do is let me turn off my background here. For my door knocking, I don't random door knock neighborhoods. I go specific to my niche list, which is probate.
Right.
So I drop off a CMA on their door. So it's like kind of like door knocking on steroids. So it's a full CMA and all the processes I do for their house.
Nice.
That's actually, I've had 2 I've got my first listing that way, and I have another potential listing that way too. It takes some time to drive around because they're not in the neighborhood.
Right, because they're all over. Yeah.
They're all over the place.
Yeah.
But yeah, this doesn't happen for me. My wrist seizes up when I get to the door. So I throw it on the doorstep.
Yeah.
But
My
yeah,
first door knocking teacher used to say, if your wrist freezes up, just fall forward so that your head hits the door.
yeah. So anyways, that's what I do. It's working.
Yeah. Yeah. Good for you, Kevin. And thank you for bringing that up. Now, Kevin, you skipped about how do you get inspired because you're working alone at your desk in the house, correct?
Oh, well, yeah. So I mean, for me, I'm with Chris's program. So I run an accountability call every morning at 9 a.m. for agents all over the country.
Oh, nice.
And yeah, it's funny because the EXP is my fourth brokerage, but I've
In
found
how many years?
8.
Okay.
But I've found that EXP has the most camaraderie out of any of the brokerages ever.
Yeah.
And it's because of this Zoom stuff. It's because of the, I go to the events and meet you and stuff.
Yeah.
I think the events is incredible. I would like to see a little bit more local camaraderie.
Mhm.
But that's why I'm going to start doing what Colin does and start calling people and introducing myself and making sure
Absolutely.
when they have broker opens that I go to their broker opens to see them face to face.
Yes. And guys, pay attention because the people that are opening the offices that they call them EXP offices, it's not EXP.
Yeah.
It's an individual at EXP that is taking a risk to open an office. Like a lot of people in my organization they have Chino Hills, they have Anaheim Hills, they have Anaheim, they have Upland, they have Beverly Hills. Like we've got them all over. I want nothing to do with that. I'm the one who lost millions owning 9 Keller Williams franchises, but they're doing it very successfully with partnerships and cooperation and all of these things. They're not the ones who say, I'm sorry, you're not in our group, get out of our office. No, just pop. Maybe you don't get to be given an office, but you can pop in and collaborate. I have never done personally, I'm 65 almost, this much virtual collaboration through Workplace, through different groups on Workplace. And I think I shared with you guys, there's now 9 referral groups on Workplace, 9 of them. How many of you are having those drop into your notifications on a regular part? When my screen time is way up now on my, how your iPhone tells you shit you don't want to know. Like, I don't want to know how much my screen time is. Mind your own freaking business. But my screen time is up and I realize it's up because I'm spending so much time scrolling for referrals. On the toilet, anywhere I am that I don't have to be present somewhere else, I'm like scrolling for referrals. So this is all about us being on purpose about creating the camaraderie I need. Kyle might need different than me. I don't know what Kyle needs, and I need less now because I had so many years of so much camaraderie. Now I'm like, okay, leave me the freak alone. Let me have some time alone. I'll go do the work I need to do. So Kyle, do you mind speaking up? You've got your paper out. So I thought maybe you were going to say something.
Oh, first of all, thank you for letting me be a part of this coaching program. This is actually my 3rd day in the coaching program, and I'm just hopping on. I've been door knocking, and I've been hitting my numbers. I'm thankful we're talking about doors, Kevin. I appreciate that. It's hard to get out there, and just I've been hitting my numbers actually by doors. I've 61 doors, 70 plus doors, and I did notice there was another gentleman out the other day. And he was doing the drops and then I'm doing the knocking. So just day before yesterday, I was able to have 2 conversations with sellers while the information from the other agent just sat on the doormat. And so now I'm able to, there are those aha moments because I used to have that fear, but if I'm going to get out there and it's 92 degrees, I'm on the Central Coast. We've had some heat out here in Santa Maria area.
Yeah.
But if you're going to go out there to do it, you got to do it at a level that will actually you got to get past that door.
Yeah.
And
Kyle,
Are you dogging me?
when you're,
Dogging me out there.
I want you to win. I don't want to
Yeah.
have another agent knock on that door and bypass. That looked like an incredible packet of information,
Yeah.
you know, but I want that packet of information to get to the person behind that door.
Yeah. And
Kyle, can
Kyle,
I
you were
ask?
saying, wait, one sec, Kyle. You were saying that some other agents, not Kevin's stuff was right there on the porch while you were talking to the seller.
They had already hit that whole area. There it was from
Yeah.
United Agents right there. Boom. And
Yeah.
it was all black
So-
and white. Yeah.
So next time, Kyle, say, let me just take this trash with you when I leave. It was good to talk to you.
And one of the ladies at the door was so angry at the agent on the ground. She took it up and wadded up and I want nothing to do with it. I said, well, I don't,
Yeah.
you know, I'm not going to be a part of that.
Yeah.
But I was able to meet 2 potential sellers just day before yesterday. Yeah. And that was just my third day out door knocking, 2 hours a day.
Yeah. Okay.
Kyle, can I ask what's the first thing you say when they open the door? Like what your approach is?
Absolutely. It's not what I say. It's all in your mind when you approach that door. You just make sure you have the biggest smile on your face, know what is for sale in the area, have it with you, know what's pending in their neighborhood, and bring the last couple of close. When they answer the door, have that smile, because number one, normally they don't want you there. Introduce yourself immediately. Hey, how are you doing? And I always point to myself. I say, hey, my name is Kyle. I'm a local real estate agent. And the reason for my knock is your neighbor's house just went on the market over the weekend. And I'm actually just here to update you with that information.
Oh, I
as soon-
love that.
As soon as I say that, I say, you know, I'll just be a quick second, because I want to create that false time restraint where because they don't want you there. They want you out of there.
Yeah.
Let them know, hey, I'll be a quick second. And then I give them the information. So that way I have, you know, I'm bringing them value. Hey, your neighbor's house is a 2-bedroom home. You know, it's 1,000 square feet. They're asking $513 per square foot. Asking price currently is at $519. And then I ask them, who do you know, who have you bumped into it recently thinking about moving into your neighborhood? You know, pick your neighbor. And then I shut
Yes.
up.
Yes. And look, the
Love that.
hand movement, Daniela, the fact that he's being animated at the door is just as important as what's coming out of your mouth.
Engaging.
Ariel, you've had your hand up for a bit. Go ahead, dear.
Yes, it wasn't about this. I was still on the
Go ahead.
wanting to talk about how I was collaborating.
Yes, please. That's what we need, because it's all part of the whole thing, collaborating and the lead generating. Go ahead.
Perfect. Okay, so I am really huge on the collaboration piece. So as I'm out and about meeting agents, it doesn't matter if they're EXP or otherwise. My first thing is trying to figure out what they need and how I can help. And from that, I just add them to a group, and then I just share all of the resources that I have available. So every week after this call, I actually have a call with newer agents, and we basically brainstorm and mastermind on what some of our opportunities are and how we can help each other.
Okay, so you bring up a good point that figuring out ways, and I love that ties in what you just said is I do a call with other people. There's your collaboration. You know, Kevin said I run a mastermind call or a role play call. Everybody finds their way to collaborate. You have to find that way that works for you. So good for you, Ariel. And then Sabrina on here said in the comment, I love it, that motion, what did she say? Motion creates emotion. And I love that because there's a lot of people who say, I believe in myself, but there's a lot of people who have no belief in themselves until they've gone out and done something that gives them the belief in themselves. Meaning I went and did action and I got a result. Now I believe in me, or now I believe in that this works. Like, you don't know how many hundreds and hundreds of agents over the years have said, you're an idiot. Door knocking's old fashioned. It doesn't work. Okay. Have you ever done it? Well, I knocked on 8 doors once. I got nothing. 8 whole doors. Wow. Right. It's time over. I've got another friend who takes my information and says, Rick, I'm going to defy the laws of probability. What an ambition. He said, you get 3 leads for 100 doors. I'm going to get 7 leads for 100 doors. I'm going to defy the laws of probability. So anyway, thank you very much, Ariel, for bringing that to our attention. Did you have one more you wanted to add to that?
All good.
Nothing? Okay. It sounds like you have a house full too. I love that. Lots of activity going on in the background, so. Okay, let's see. So thank you, Colin, for being the impetus to this conversation. Now, who else on the call, before we really talk too much about week 3, has gone out and done some stuff that we learned in weeks 1 or 2, whether it's finishing your business plan workbook or realizing the first thing Colin said is I've realized how much time I've wasted. Has anybody had an experience? Anybody please speak up, just unmute yourself. You don't have to raise your hand and if somebody else talks at the same time, but go ahead. Yes, Ariel.
So it takes me back to those daily success habits. I actually started implementing that. And now my goal is obviously to get those points, but really about getting the amount of contacts that I want each day, like actually having conversations with people. So right now I am not stopping my day until I've talked to 20 people about real estate per day.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. And so you're saying if it takes me 50 calls, I'm still talking to 20 people is what you're saying. Yeah, and you get like most people hear what she said and they hear 20 calls. They don't hear, I had to speak to 20 people. She said, oh, you made 20 calls. No, she made whatever number of calls was necessary to speak to 20 people. It's a big difference. All right. So when I used to coach large classes, not one-on-one coaching about how to lead generate, I would say you're either going to set a goal today for the number of calls you're going to make. That's number 1. Or are you guys, write this down because it might sound confusing when I'm saying it. You're either going to set a goal today for the number of calls I will make, and I will take what results I get from that number of calls. I'm going to make 10 calls today. I'm going to make 5 calls today. Or number 2, you're going to set an amount of time that you will make calls today. I'm going to call for an hour. Okay. You guys see the difference here, right? Or the third and most effective way that I have seen, but none of the ways are wrong, guys. Remember this. None of them are wrong. None of them are right. They either work or they don't work. No judgment. The third way is what Ariel said. I'm going to call for whatever time, whatever number of calls until I've reached this many people, which is contacts, right? Now write this down. So it's dials or doors, write the words dials or doors on one line. Line 2 is contacts. That means somebody answered, period. That's all it means. Somebody answered the door, somebody answered the phone. Then from contacts, the next word is leads. How many doors or dials did it take till I got a contact? How many contacts did I have to get before I lead? What's a lead? Yes, I know of somebody thinking of selling, or yes, I'm thinking of selling, or yes, I know of somebody thinking of moving into the neighborhood. Do you know how many times door knocking someone has done this? Stuck their finger, pay attention, stuck their finger out right past my eyes and said, like literally on this side of my head, and said, those people across the street are getting a divorce. They think no one knows, but everyone knows. So what do you think? Like Sabrina, you're laughing your head off over there. I see you. So what do you think I do? I turn around, walk right across the street. I don't keep going in order because I'm going right across the street saying, yes, I've been door knocking in the neighborhood. I don't say, hey, your neighbors all know you're freaking getting a divorce. I don't say that. I just use the same line, but I'm going directly to someone who has bigger possibility of saying, yes, we need to talk to you. And that's what I'm saying. We're either setting number of calls, how long I'll call, or number of contacts. Decide. None of them are wrong. None of them are right. It's what works. You decide for you each day. But remember, decide such that you will feel good about you when you're done. That's it. I feel good. I did what I said I would do. And remember how many people I've told you have taken on my challenge to do just 1 call a day, regardless of the result, 1 call a day every single day, because they have nothing to start from, but I'm never making calls. If you have nothing to start from, go ahead, try 1 a day. That's 30 a month. And if for every call, if you wrote a handwritten note after, whether they answered or not, look how much farther you are. Okay. So if every call got a handwritten note, that's 60 touches in a month. How many of you can say up till 2 months ago, I wasn't doing 60 touches in a month? And it's so easy. You can get a win. You can say, I brushed my teeth. I sent out my handwritten note. Go ahead, Bruce. Take yourself off mute. There you go.
Has anyone anywhere done a really deep study on the KPIs of how many people you talk to and how many people that you talk to? Or let's go even deeper. How many phone calls do you need to make to get 90% of the people to talk to, or whatever the number is?
Yeah.
What is that number? I should be talking to 100 people or calling 100 people to talk to 15 to turn 15 of those people, of the 15 people I talk to, 6 of them become leads, 2 of them become a deal or an appointment. Is there anything, and I know Keller Williams, the big red book and all that good stuff, but has there been anything newer or fresher where
Yeah.
we can KPIs for
I understand.
lack of a better phrase?
And so if for everybody on here, maybe you all know, maybe you don't, KPI is key performance indicator. And Bruce, great question to ask. The problem with those types of KPIs is there's so many factors that can't be considered. And one of them is how you said what you said. You can say it takes this many calls. Now, if you go back to things like Tom or Mike Ferry productivity,
Let me
go ahead.
of a pro. Let me put that in there. Okay. If we put all of us in a hat, we have so many varying degrees of experience. I'm sure it would take you 6 calls to get 5 appointments versus my 75 calls to get 2 conversations. You see what I'm saying? But
Absolutely.
is there a number that pros reach for, or that they know, or is it just a number that just kind of is mercurial, and it happens?
Well, and that's why I said when I was growing up, 100 door knock meant 3 leads.
Okay.
Okay. And typically you would convert 1 lead to an appointment. That was the KPI. Like, go knock
Okay.
on 100 doors, you'll get
Okay.
3 leads. But then this guy comes into my office in 1996 and goes to our first class, me and my productivity coach at this independent company we were running, and went out and said to us that he knocked on 1,000 doors and got no leads. It was over about a month, right? And 1,000 doors in a month is not that big of a deal if you're a regular door knocker. And he said he got no leads. And we said, did you count contacts? He said, yes, I had over 165 contacts. Okay. So 1,000 doors, 165 contacts, 0 leads. Well, we were like confounded, both Rusty and I.
That's a problem.
Yeah, we're like, what the heck? How could that be? So we made him stand, Bruce, outside of our door, our office door. So Rusty and I went inside my office and we shut the door and we go for it. So he knocked on the door. Rusty and I both showed up at the door to open the door, as if we were 2 people in a home who came to the door going, who are you? What do you want? We go, hi. And he goes, hey, you guys aren't thinking of selling your house, are you? That's what he did.
I cannot.
Nice.
I'm like, oh my God, where did you ever hear that script? Well, isn't that what you guys said in class? No, we did not say that in class ever. Do you get it? But
Right.
I love that your question has the spirit of what can I expect? Because that's what people will base their decision to go out on, right? If Kyle just said, I went out and I got to speak to 2 pretty potential sellers, it's a great idea, but what happens about follow-up? Well, I got their address, I don't know their name, so I can go look up their name, send them a handwritten note, and follow up with items of value. We had a guy on our coaching call today, that we have a coach training call for all the coaches at Workman every Friday from 7:30 to 8:30 Pacific. And one guy said that they just listed a house that they've been speaking to the seller once a month for 6 years. All right. So you say, is the most important thing the contact? Is the most important thing the lead? Or is the most important thing the appointment? And so when you go dials or doors, look at your list, dials or doors, contacts, leads, and the next one is appointments.
Right.
Because the appointment, as Gary Keller used to say, that's when the rubber hits the road. That's the one thing that you need. And we used to tell people when we would do the business planning clinic for Keller Williams, we would say, it ends up being that you need a lot less appointments to reach your dream number than you ever thought of, because you're not adding the metrics and the KPIs, right? Do you know that the average real estate agent in the United States is at about a 70-30% conversion, meaning 70% of the time they'll get the listing appointment they went to. And that's across all socioeconomic factors, race, religion, doesn't matter. 70% conversion for the average real estate agent in the United States on listing appointments. You get it?
So get
And-
the appointment.
Yeah, get the
Yeah.
appointment. If the ratio is that big, why aren't you asking for more appointments? But guess
Right.
what? When inventory drops, then you're competing against more agent, right? NAR's held the statistic for years that the average seller is going to talk to 2 agents, maybe most of them 1. But that's, that hasn't been my experience, maybe because I go on more listing appointments. We're talking to 5 people, like 5 people. You got a lot of spare time on your hands,
Right.
right? So
That's what they tell you at least.
yes.
Right.
Yeah, so that's the thing that has been really important, is that what you bring up, the question is important, Bruce, and you probably opened up the minds of a lot of people on the call by saying, hey, I didn't even think of that. But remember, activity begets belief, right? A lot of people would like to have the belief first. I remember when my wife recruited me into her new skin business, back in 2008, said, look, I know you're broke. Maybe you can have a second income by coming into my network marketing industry with me. And she was my girlfriend at the time. Right. And I was like, okay, but I didn't have the belief that I could do it. But everybody else around me had the belief that since I was so successful in real estate, I would easily be able to make money in Nu Skin. Get it? But I had to borrow their belief to go do the activities which gave me the result. Okay. So you get what I'm saying? I believe in you. I believe in me. But even me at 42 years in the business, I still have trouble with the getting started to get started to go knock on a door or so. Like, think about it, Kevin, like think how much activity you did at home before you finally went out the door. Oh no, I need my cards. Oh no, I don't like how that presentation looks. Like, just go. And I tell people right now, grab your cards, go right now. Just don't wait for a flyer or anything. Well, I got to run comps. No, you don't. If you're going knocking in the air, you probably know what's been going on anyway. Like, trust yourself to learn how to have a conversation. People say, Rick, what do you say to people at the door? I go, pretty much what I say when I walk into a bar. Hello.
I like that.
Yeah. So we're overthinking it a lot of the time. So anyway, I love this discussion. So Colin, go ahead.
Yeah, I definitely love that, because I was in a situation in this market where typically when I first got in real estate, like do an open house, I have like a whole week to prepare, door knocking, flyers, a lot of social media, and doing a lot of activities to get a big open house. And
Yeah.
sometimes I might have an open house. I'll literally set the date on like Thursday to do an open house on the weekend. Well, they'll get an offer, it comes off the market, and then I'll do an open house like the same day it gets listed, and I'll just go over there with like the bare minimum in my laptop.
Yeah.
And those are sometimes the best conversations to have, is whenever you're just on the go.
Exactly. And, when I go door knocking, there's something I still grab. People don't even use these anymore. And I have them in here. Look, I have one right here in my briefcase. Some of you don't even know the term. Do you know what a clipboard is?
Yes.
It's very old fashioned. Oh, look at Sherry. I know you've been in the business a while too. But you know what I put on the clipboard is I make a mark like this. Do I have a pen anywhere? You'd think a guy like me would have a pen. But I do every time I knock on a door, I just go right here. I do this. Okay, can you see that? And then I do this and this and this. Right? That's how many doors I've knocked on. But you know what the next row is? Which one's answered? So then it answers. Then if I have a conversation when they answer, then down here I write the address down at the bottom, 4525 3rd. Okay. Okay. And then if this conversation is really good, then guess what I do really quickly as I'm walking down the walkway to the next door, I put a couple stars real quick, the kind of stars I used to get when my teacher graded my paper. Okay. I put a couple stars. That means I'm going to look it up. I don't know what the conversation, I mean, it doesn't tell me, but I have a pretty good memory that, oh, I put 2 stars. Oh, that lady was saying that her daughter is thinking of buying a house. I'll actually add notes so that when I send them a handwritten note, I can mention what our conversation was about. Even some people with really short conversations, I can hear something in it. You guys will start to get good at that the more you do. And then I send them handwritten notes and then they get dropped right into my system right away. I was taught this script last week by a guy who's been cold calling for 30 years. He said, I don't ever say, what's your email address? He said the word your personalizes it. Like, this is such a nuance, right? Think about this. He always says, what's a good email? And I thought about it after he said it, because the guy's weird, but he's been sitting behind a desk cold calling for 30 years. And I said, how did you come up with that? He said, I just noticed the difference when I said, what's a good email versus what's your email? What's your email relates possession, and I'm not giving you that possession. I'm like, dude, that's some serious psychology you put into that. You know what this guy told me? He said, don't ever send a note that's not in blue ink. I'm like, I send purple ink, green ink. I'm like, and if I'm in a good mood, I'll send red ink, you know, it depends. And he goes, blue ink. So I go Google it. I Google it and I found out, oh my gosh, this guy says never write a handwritten note that's not in blue ink.
Not in blue.
Yeah, no, he wants it to be in blue ink. And so I look it up and some of the people on my team challenge me. This is just all in the last month because we're trying to refine our skills, right? And he said, you know, and then he has all these other little nuances. So we have to learn those while we're failing forward. The work doesn't train. Training doesn't work. It's the work that trains. So we've got to just do more of it. All right. This is
So
great.
Rick,
Yes. Who's that?
I'm gonna jump
Sherry.
in here to Sherry.
Yeah.
Real quick on the door knocking, I'm gonna say that I carry like you the note,
Mhm.
but I sit there with the person and write in front of them. Will write because it shows that you're paying attention in the engagement. And they offer up a lot more information. If they say their neighbor across the street wants to sell and you start to write neighbor across the street and they give you their name and they'll give you all the way down to what the goldfish's name is if you're taking notes. If you're just listening, they tend to cut it off, but they kind of, people like to give.
Yeah.
And so when I'm sitting there writing, they give a ton of information, just FYI. And then I'll just jump in and throw my 2 cents in. I haven't been able to go out and door knock or do anything because I have a little bit of a balance problem right now. But I did take your, and I'm not sure if it was this call or the other call, but I got on my phone and just started dialing A through Z. Well, I'm not through Z, I'm only through M right now. And
Are you serious?
yeah, I'm calling people and then I'm sending notes to them to say, you know, hey, it was great catching up. And just in this situation, I have 2 referrals for buyers of people that are coming in the end of July and in August. I got 2 buyers out of sitting on my butt.
Wow.
Nice.
So you don't have to door knock. Though I love to door knock, you don't have to door knock. You can just pick up your phone and dial if the
Yes.
situation.
And guys, she's being humble. She's got vertigo, so she's having trouble standing up and be balanced. So look what she did. Instead of saying, I can't work, I'm sick, she just said, I'm sitting on my ass. I might as well make those calls. And those calls that she's talking about are ones we've mentioned here where they're not about real estate. They're a check-in call. How have you been? The last 2.5 years have been crazy. Sorry, I haven't reached out, like those kinds of calls. And look at that, 2 referrals as a result of those calls. I'm so impressed that you're through the, that you're through the M's already. That's really good. And you've probably taken a lot of good notes, right? About those calls.
Oh yeah, I'm filling in my database. I do the Ford conversation basically and a few other things.
Wait right there. Do you guys all know what the Ford conversation is? Because it's part of RAMP. Good. I see a lot of nodding heads. Family, occupation, recreation, dreams. Good. Go ahead, Sherry.
So, but then I can put that stuff into KV Core and, hashtag it, so on and so forth. And I also do this one, I send note cards And so I have note cards like this it's got a B on it. This is a note pack for buyers.
Yeah,
And so, and I have referrals and so on and so forth. And so when I get those and I grab this note pack and I just do, I guess I got to get blue ink now because I use all different color ink. But I write out a year's worth of cards. There's 7 cards in here. And I write out their cards for the year. And then I have a file that I just have the months in, and where the stamp goes, I write the date that I want to mail it. So I know what day of the month it goes out. I stick the stamp on it just before it goes out because it covers up that little bit of information.
yeah,
And that way everybody gets their stuff. And I'm just kind of working forward right now because I can't be out and about because
Yeah.
I look like a drunk sailor coming up to, they're
Yeah.
like, who's this drunk walking up to my house right now? So,
That's
but
awesome.
it's a way to stay in touch. So that's how my system works and what I'm doing right now to ramp it up.
That's awesome. Congratulations. Okay, really quickly, there's a lot of people on the lower half of my screen that aren't talking and haven't, and that's okay. You're not obligated to talk. You may get on here to just listen in. I'm looking at blank screens of Susan Martinez and David Manicad and Kristen and Rebecca and Suhail and Ed. So, and if you guys want to pop in, just pop in, but I do want to see who specifically here heard the videos for week 3 this week, who listened to them. Okay. All right.
I've finished all of the weeks.
Okay, cool. What did you say, Kristen? I'm sorry.
I finished all of the weeks. I'm caught up.
Oh, you are cool. Would you mind sharing, Kristen, since I've got you on here and I complimented you for being super mom earlier? What was week 3 about? And yes, I know, but I'd rather hear it from somebody else. So
Week 3 was about really going into your, like, who do you know, your SOI, getting your 50
Top 50.
best, your top 50, also the Ford conversation and the LP ma'am.
Yes, the LP MAM script, right? Those are
Yes.
more for leads, right? Mhm.
Yes. Am I missing something?
I think
That's
you
what
got a lot of it. Yeah. Does anybody have anything they want to add to what Kristen said that they picked up from week 3? Colin?
Yeah, my favorite thing about week 3 was the buyer information sheet and the seller information sheet. So obviously we always have that stuff like online to where we can get to it, but honestly, I'm going to start having like a small folder that has all this information with me in my bag. So if I need like any little information, that sheet pretty much is going to have everything like in the matter of seconds versus having to pull out my phone, try to log in, or trying to get on my computer and log in. So
That's really, really good. Yeah, I'm still a big fan, and look at our age difference, Colin, that I'm still a big fan of printing it up and putting it in my pocket, or printing it up and having it right there, so that if I'm on the phone, I can start asking those questions and writing it out, as opposed to trying to find the editable PDF online. It seems much quicker to me. Are you finding that with your buyer leads and your seller leads?
yeah, for sure. Because I feel like also like buyers that are like your B buyers that are 30 to 90 days out, you'll really be able to, like, when you look at your folder, you'll look and remind yourself, hey, like I need to call this person again if
Yeah.
you're not getting on your computer and looking at that.
Yeah, good. Okay, good. This is good stuff. Did anybody else? Daniela, go ahead. You have your hand up.
Yeah, I just had a quick question because I was told also on another Zoom that it's good to go to the MLS website, and there should be somewhere like a checklist for buyer and seller. Does that worksheet also cross-reference the same things we should be able to fill out when creating the listing or creating the agreement online?
No, what that list he's talking about is to kind of get details about the person, what they're looking for, price range as a buyer, seller, when are you selling, things like that, so that you have that information. But it really is something that once you put it in, if you take all that information from that sheet and put it into your free KV Core account, you've got everything you need on that seller going forward. Now, one of the things that I do, like, are you, Daniela, what state are you in?
California?
Okay, so you know in California, we have this thing called an AVID form, right?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, Sherry knows it because she's from here, but she's now selling in Tennessee. Most states don't have something like that for the realtor. It's a very comprehensive 3-page, tell us everything you saw, good or bad, about the property. So when I first go to a seller's house for the very first time, I take a pad of paper on a clipboard still to this day, but I also augment it with pictures on my iPhone of every single thing I see that I will either use, listen to this, Daniela, to put on the flyer to make it a great, all about what a great listing it is, but everything I'm going to need for my AVID also, like every bad thing, crack in the ceiling in the master bedroom, and all of that are all on that yellow sheet. And sometimes my clients are like, what are you writing? I go, oh, I take very thorough notes because I want to know everything that's good and bad about your house, and so that I can relate it. And I often tell them, I said, if you had a chance to talk to a buyer, what would be the one thing you would tell them that you love more than anything about this house? Well, guess what? When they're done answering that, I say, if you had a chance to tell the buyer, what's the one thing that you dislike the most about this house? And by the way, the buyer, unless this is a disclosure item, is never going to know about this. I hate my neighbors next door. Their freaking dog never stops barking. Okay, well, I don't have to put in the disclosures that you hate the neighbors, but I am going to put that there's been barking at the neighbors because that's a noise. Do you get it? So, and I generalize that all the time. Dog barking could be heard on my visit through the home. And you never, you know, with the AVIDs in the state of California, you're not allowed to, or you shouldn't, your broker shouldn't allow you to say things like a big crack, a small crack, because that makes you an expert. It's a crack, period, you know? So things like that, but we'll talk about it. Kristen, go ahead.
I do, however, want to know, when I was finishing up the last session, it said that the Workman Success has they have like a script class meeting that's every Thursday at 10 a.m. Is that through the Facebook group?
No, that's Workman Success only, but you have access to it. And we talked about it on the last call. I'm going to put an email address in here. You guys all have, it's 10 a.m. Mountain Time, 9 a.m. Pacific. Every Thursday at 9 a.m. Pacific, there's a role play call, and it is incredible. It's really incredible. Hundreds of people get on this role play call every Thursday, 9 a.m. And I'm going to put an email address in here for John at workmansuccess.com. And there it is. That's his email address. Email him and say, I'm part of Rick's Rant program. That's all you got to say. How do I access the free role play call every Thursday morning? And they'll send it to you. I should know. I don't know. It's not my department. My wife's teaching me not to handle shit I don't know, because my modus operandi is to say, yes, I'll get you that to everybody in the world, and I can't. So I'm not doing that. You can do it.
Thank you.
Did that sound good? Like, did that sound like I was owning my time? Yes. Thank you. All right.
Yes.
All right.
You're stingy.
That's right. That's me.
Hey,
Mr.
Rick.
Stingy. Yeah. Who's that? Cheryl.
Week
Are you,
three.
are you and Colin in the same office right now?
Well, we're not. I think he's at his home office. We're here. We just got here in the office. So,
Okay. Because we talked about you earlier.
oh, well, that's why my ears were burning.
Yeah. Go ahead. What were you going to say about week 3?
Week 3, get a mentor. Get a mentor, guys. All the greats have coaches and mentors, right? And
Yes,
even
I have.
those greats have coaches and mentors.
Yes. And by the way, guys, you can, do you have somebody that you would call a mentor, all of you, that they don't know that they're your mentor, that you look up to them, that you want to do things? How many of you have one like that? Right. Okay, good. It's good to have those, right? I've had in my career, the people that I have looked up to as mentors are literally leaders in the entire industry. Gino Blafari, who was my first boss when I left my uncle's brokerage to run someone else's. He's today the CEO of all of Berkshire Hathaway Real Estate. Anything to do with real estate, Berkshire Hathaway, he's the boss. We just talked on the phone the other day. Then who was my next mentor? Gary Keller. And then who came after that? Glenn Sanford. Viral Workman, who is the owner of Workman Success Systems, probably one of the greatest business minds I ever met, but also a very passionate family man. So I don't talk to them all regularly, but I'm keeping an eye on them, saying, what are they doing? What are they saying that I need to learn from? But then there's the mentor that Cheryl's talking about, that's somebody you literally go to and say, hey, what would you do in this case? Now, I get mine from my coach. I hired Selena Galanis from Workman Success Systems, who's one of the top coaches in the company, to coach me. It cost me a lot of money, but it's worth every penny because I'll have growth that will far out exceed what I paid her in a year. Do you get that? So having a mentor is free. You just find the person you most want to mentor with. Now, with EXP, if you're a new agent, they're going to give you a mentor. You don't get a choice, but there's also good to have one that you really are passionate about yourself. So, and this is a free mentoring slash a kind of accountability kind of call that you're going to get with me every Friday at 10 a.m., even if you didn't do the work. I'm so proud of how many of you have finished all the way up to week 3 at the end of week 3. It's amazing. That's how it's supposed to go, but we all know that doesn't always happen. So thank you for that extra bit, Cheryl. I appreciate that. Anybody else got anything they want to share with us? Okay. Who said something? Go ahead.
Yeah, so I'll definitely touch base one more time about the role play session.
Mhm.
So I went to it. This is my first week going to it, and they were doing like scripts on handling objections on interest rates going up. And so what I like about it is every week the script is going to be about like big changing things that, like, for me, I've never done scripts like that are like that go with the market change. I've just done like kind of basic like sphere calls for sell by owner, open houses, where they're going to do like more scripts that you might not even thought of before. And then obviously you can kind of just speak normally because you're never probably going to see those people again anyway. So if you mess up, it's just all
Yeah.
being vulnerable.
Yeah, and good for you, Colin, because it's opening up things that you didn't like. You ever heard the term? I used to think it was the most stupid term because I didn't understand it. You don't know what you don't know. Well, then when I went to Keller Williams after 21 years in the industry, I realized how much I didn't know that I didn't know, meaning so when you get on one of those role play calls, you hear things and you go, I didn't even think to ask to say that. Like you hear things and it just opens up your mind and you realize there's a lot I didn't know that I didn't know. So those are great things to catch up on. I hope that if you weren't on the call, I'm going to put it in again, because if you join the call late, then you don't see in the chat what was there before you joined in. So I'm going to put John's email again. And the other thing that you guys have that you may not be using enough is other people on this call. Colin's a great guy. If you liked him and what he said, then right here on the call, say, Colin, can I have your phone number? I want to call you and get inspired by you. Right? When Sherry Mason and I talk, she always thinks that she's calling to get inspiration from me, but I end up getting off the call going, you know what I heard from Sherry today? Like, always good stuff. So you have to think about, I have all these other people on the call. Maybe I should text them. Maybe I can look them up. And at the last part, is there a Wednesday call as well? What's that Thursday and Friday, Rochelle? What are you talking about, sweetheart?
Sorry, I just wanted to make sure. So
The
it's
role
just the
play
Wednesday,
call.
just the
is-
Thursday role play, and then
Yeah.
today's call. That's it, right? There's no other.
Yeah, well, the
calls?
role play call is for all of Workman Success, not just Rick's Ramp. That's
Right.
the whole company. There's a ton of agents on there from all over the United States and Canada, seriously. And that's really good. Oh, look, Colin put the link in. Look at you, stud. All right, and then,
It's the same link every week.
right, good. So now you have it. You don't have to email John, but if you want your own
And
personal invite, he'll do that.
What time is that call again? Sorry. to
That
interrupt.
calls 9 a.m. Pacific. You're on the Pacific time
Gotcha.
zone, Bruce, and they advertise it as 10 all the time because
Mountain.
Workman is in Utah and they're always on
Gotcha.
Mountain Time.
Oh, they're next door. Cool. All right.
Yeah. And then the other thing I want you guys to think about is that we all have workplace chat. I use workplace chat more often sometimes in a day than my own regular texting, because I may not know Kevin Scott's number. I do in this case, but if I like Kevin, I can go to workplace chat, find Kevin, send him a text message through workplace chat. If I want to hear from Glenn Sanford, I can send him a text in workplace chat, right? Like anybody in the company. So remember to use that resource also. All right.
Also,
Yeah.
you guys should save this chat. So
Yes, yeah, and you guys, I taught everybody how to do it before. The three little dots on the bottom right of the chat, you can click on those and it'll say. So, yeah, and Sabrina, would you mind if I share that, what you just said, or is that private? It's fine if you don't want me to. You're on mute, honey.
Yes, you can share it.
So Sabrina just chatted with me privately on the chat. I don't know if you guys know that, but you can chat one-on-one with somebody so that everybody else doesn't see. But she said that she feels like these kinds of calls and being surrounded by amazing people
Yep.
is what saved her from quitting the real estate business. See, that's
True.
the kind of stuff that really hits here,
Yes.
because we can all do this. It's
True.
just a matter of changing your beliefs, then your activities, and then your results change automatically. So good for
It's
you.
inspiring. It's inspiring. And sometimes I feel like I've been doing this for 22 years and I thought maybe I should go work at a grocery store or something. And I feel like I'm letting my family down. And then I get on a call and you're telling us it's okay, do what you can do and promise yourself rather than what I'm telling you to do. And it creates success in your own self-conscious. And I shared that after you said that with a few people on my team so that they know that go ahead and get on the call. He's not out to make you look like a failure or feel like a
Yeah.
failure. So thank you. It's a gift, Rick. Thank you.
Thank you, Sabrina. You're so sweet. But if we remember that the word accountability, Verl says this really well. Accountability equals love, not hate, not judgment. It just means love. It means I care enough about you to ask you to remember what you promised yourself. That's all. Okay. So that's why I say make the promise smaller so you can fulfill it. That doesn't mean I don't make big, hairy, audacious goals. But I'm saying if you need a win, then make the goal such that you can get a win and you'll feel better about you, which will make you do more. Okay. All right. It's 11. We got to run. I just have one question. Who remembers what was the scroll from today from chapter 3? Cheryl, Colin, anybody that watched, what was the scroll from Og Mandino's The Greatest Salesperson for today? You can probably look it up quicker than I can. I see Ed.
I'm kind of far ahead into it, so I don't know what.
Oh,
this
okay.
week
I think
was.
this week was I will persist.
Okay, I will persist until I succeed. Does anybody have the book in front of them that they would read a first couple of paragraphs of I will persist until I succeed? Anyone? Anyone? Bueller? I usually have mine right here and I just don't know where it is right now, so.
Was it chapter 3?
No, it might be scroll number 3. It's not chapter 3. It's not scroll number 3. It's one of the scrolls. If you flick through the book real quick, because the book, you got a paperback in front of you, Colin?
Yeah.
Okay, anybody? Okay, so flick through it till it gets to the scrolls. I don't think the scrolls start until chapter 8. Oh, you know what I can do? I can just Google it really quickly. Didn't I think of that?
You still want number 3, right?
Yeah, well, no, not number 3. I will persist until I succeed. It's one of the, let's see.
Hey, Rick, I just started the book like
Yeah.
2 days ago, and I bought it on Audible, and I was like, oh my goodness, I can't believe I never heard of this book. It's an amazing book.
Oh, yes,
Like the
it's
story
yeah.
just grabs you, and then now you're hooked. I'm
Yeah.
like totally addicted to it.
My dad made me read it when I was 14. So
wow. And I first read it when I went to work for Gino in 1993. But here's the beginning of it. I will persist until I succeed. I was not delivered into this world in defeat, nor does failure course in my veins. Then it says, I am not a sheep waiting to be prodded by my shepherd. I am a lion and I refuse to talk, to walk, to sleep with the sheep. The slaughterhouse of failure is not my destiny. I will persist until I succeed. That's just the beginning. It's several pages, but I love that book because it is my spiritual and motivational support for doing the work. Okay. That's why they relate one of the scrolls to each of the chapters. So please use that as your powerful tool. And again, congratulations on being so participatory. I'm so impressed with this group. We've not had a ramp group that has done this well. And so keep up your results, keep up your activities. and come to the call and use it as a stepping stone into the next week. Certainly leave here today and give yourself grace and credit for what you did do. Please don't focus on what you didn't do, focus on what you will do. All right? Give yourself grace for what you did do and then focus on what you will do. Got it? Okay, I love you all. Have an amazing week. I'll see you next Friday. Okay?